Just welcome everybody to class number 3 of trading psychology. And I can't believe this is class 3. We only have 2 classes remaining after tonight. And it just goes by super fast. And I was talking to our blueprint group, which is a year-long mentorship that we do. And we started back in January of this year. And I remember saying when we started, there's going to come a time when we get closer to the end of the year where it's like, wow, this is all over. And it just goes by so fast. So I want to make sure that we maximize our time here together. Super excited to be here and to dig into the content that we have tonight. And really quickly, I want to thank everybody for sending me their trading plans to take a look at, for sending me your the week before your trading vision, values, and beliefs. Those were great to read through that. And I did provide feedback to everybody who did send their trading plans. If you still want to send those to me, I will send you detailed feedback. And just one thing, I was going to share some examples and take the names out, but just one of the things that I wanted to point out overall that I saw consistently. First of all, they were great. You guys put together some great stuff, and the key, make sure whatever you put in your plan, it's specific. So if you're saying be patient, what does that mean? Does it mean waiting for a certain pattern to arrive, or waiting a certain amount of time, waiting for certain conditions to be met? Or if you're saying be confident in the trade, that really ties to your criteria. Is all of your criteria met to be taking that trade? So just make sure whatever language you're putting into your plan for your rules, that it's specific so that you can follow it each time. So that's really the overall message that I have for everyone. And then the last thing is, there were lots of solid rules in there that you provided about what to do for when you have a winning trade. But also keep in mind that you should have a plan for when you have a trade that goes against you, because part of trading is when it doesn't go according to plan. You have to have something in place that can ensure that you have a small loser. Again, we want to minimize the losers as much as possible. And we know that losses are part of trading, they're just an inherent piece of it. You're never going to avoid it unless you're a fortune teller, which none of us out there are, or maybe you are, I don't know. I'll follow your trading guidebook if you are, but have rules for whenever the trade goes against you. What actions do you take to ensure that you are losing small so that your winners at the end of the month outweigh your losers and you finish profitable? So, wanted to start tonight by sharing that feedback for the plans. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the content. And let me pull up the slides here. Hit present on this puppy, and we are going to rock and roll real fast. Going to ask this question just to get our fingers warmed up here. What is your favorite part of Thanksgiving? Go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm going to put mine in here right now. Bang. I love me some pumpkin pie. What do you guys like? What family? Yes, family. I should have put that first. So I'm thinking with my stomach here. But yes, family. Mashed potatoes and gravy. Can't go wrong with mashed potatoes and gravy. It's a banger. Anybody else? Favorite things about Thanksgiving? I would say the Steelers, but man, they're struggling. They got me all beat up. Oh, Paulo says pumpkin. Paulo, I mean, we just complete each other's sentences. Cranberry sauce. All right, that's an interesting one. David, sweet potatoes with marshmallows. All right. Nice. I like it. Not being in the hospital. That is definitely something to be grateful for. Awesome. And that's definitely important this time. Green bean casserole. Oh my gosh, so delicious. Gravy. All right. I'm hungry. All right. Paula's wife made a pumpkin pie last night. Awesome. I'm gonna fly down to Florida, man. I gotta get some of that. Fried turkey is awesome as well. All right, I'm on the next flight. But just taking some time to be grateful. Really enjoy your time. David, the other David in here, um, says the dark meat of the turkey, which is delicious as well. But take the time to just really focus in on those things, be present, enjoy a special time of year, and it's going to be a great one. So I wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. So here we are, class number three, trading psychology. And our outcomes for this course, remember, we're building systems. I want you to leave here at the end of this class with systems built so that you're heading into 2026 with a trading plan with clearly defined values, beliefs, missions for what you're going to accomplish in 2026. We're putting all that together and we're reflecting on our beliefs. We're going to be doing some of that here tonight because we're going to talk about losing trades, psychology of losing trades. And ultimately, you'll leave here with an entire system from start to finish that you can use moving forward to organize and lead your training. So that's our work. So we have finished class number one. It is over. Or excuse me, that was class two. So class one isn't on here, but we finished class one, class two, and here we are tonight, class three. We will be back here next week for class number four, which just so happens to be on December 4th. And I'm excited about that. And so tonight, what we are going to get into is the psychology of a losing trade. We're going to talk about the emotions of losing. So I hope you have your notebook with you. I have mine right here. Let me get it so you guys can see. I've got mine ready to go. So I will be journaling along with you guys. We're going to talk about what a loss is in trading and investing, what it means to you, why, how you react to losses. We really want to dig into your emotional response to that and talk about, can you prevent a loss? And we'll also get into some strategies that you can use to mitigate losing trades and how you should go about managing losses, and also steps that you can take, speaking of Thanksgiving, to become a grateful loser. So that's everything that we're going to get into here this evening in class number three. And then you can see next week, we're going to get into the psychology of a winning trade, because there's an entire mindset that goes into that we want to make sure that we are thinking about, and we have strategies for that as well, because it's about both managing losers, managing winners, and being grateful in both situations. And then in our final class, we're going to look at routines, trading routines, down to the environment where you trade, how you approach it, following a process. And it's a really interesting session. Looking forward to that. And then we'll wrap everything up and we'll put a bow on it, pun intended, as we'll be in the month of December and wrap up the course. So that's what is ahead for us here in the class. But let's go ahead and jump in here and begin talking about the emotions of losing. And this is where you need to have your notebook out. Oh, am I recording? Let me check. Rajon, thank you for asking. Rajon keeps me in check. I will give it to him. We are recording. Thank you. So let's actually let me come back here. Oh, jumped ahead. And let's talk about the emotions of losing. So have your notebook ready because we are going to do some writing here. And what I want you guys to do is let's start by talking about, what does a losing trade mean to you? And I want you to define this. I'm going to ask you guys to share. And I want you to think about the emotions that you experience when you lose a trade. Are you mad? Are you throwing things? Are you screaming at the computer? Are you calm? Are you accepting that this is part of the process? And then I want you to think of your most recent emotional experience and mindset with your most recent losing trade. So I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes. I'm going to do this exercise with you. I've got my pen ready. I've got my notebook. Hopefully you have yours as well. And remember to take advantage of this class in the best way. You really got to give yourself to these exercises. Okay. So again, what does losing a trade mean to you? I want you to define this. What emotions do you experience when you lose a trade? And then describe your most recent emotional experience and mindset following a losing trade. We're going to take 2 minutes, and I want you guys to write. At the end of those 2 minutes, we'll talk about this, and I'm going to ask you guys to share. So the 2 minutes starts now. All right, here we go. I'm going to actually put on a little bit of music here. All right. No. All right, some little ambiance. Get about 1 minute. 30 seconds. All right. So that is 2 minutes. So go ahead and stop and let's share. And I'll go ahead and share mine here. And I know you guys are writing, but just to show you that I'm participating as well. Losing trade to me, defining it, obviously losing money. My thesis for the trade, my plan being incorrect, but also for me, a losing trade is when I don't follow my plan. I get mad at myself. Emotions get discouraged. Even today, fear that I'm losing my edge. That's always my thing. I'm like, man, what's going on? Why did I lose? So I have that fear that my sharpness is missing, and then I also have this feeling of it's a missed opportunity. Man, I put all this time into it and I didn't profit. And then I think of my most recent loss on a Netflix trade, was angry at myself. Had a good setup. I've taken the setup before. It looked like it was ready to run. And then everything else ran except my trade. And mine did not. And so I was mad. I was so mad. So let's see what you guys had to say. All right. So Paula says, mad, self defeat, failure, end up punishing myself mentally for not following the blueprint, for forcing a trade that isn't there, FOMO perhaps, and knowing better to not doing, yet doing it anyway. So Paul, I appreciate your honesty and your transparency there. Forcing a trade, yeah, that FOMO piece when your criteria isn't fully met, but you're feeling like, I got to take it because if it goes and I didn't. So definitely can relate there. David says anger, failure, not accepting that it is a part of learning, part of a learning experience. Feelings of anger, uh, frustration, self-doubt. Yeah, and it is a learning experience, and that's a way of reframing the losses that sure, you may have lost a trade, you may have lost money, but you're gaining something in the process, even though it doesn't feel that at the time, but you are taking something that you can then apply to the next trade. Bill and Heather, disappointed, angry, fearful, and upset, but encouraged to try again. So you got some resiliency there that even though it was a loss, you're going to keep pushing forward. You're going to keep trying. Rajon, frustration or regret, but staying calm. Calmness is important, right? We have to stay cool because if we're emotional, And let's say our rules say that we can continue trading after a loss. If we're in that negative mindset, that's going to lead to more losses. David, learning. Wade, losing means what did I do wrong again? And sometimes it makes me feel like losing is normal and winning is just luck. Mad, exhausted, devastated, very low feeling. Yeah. So, Wade here, feeling like losing is normal and winning is just luck. It can feel that way, especially if you have a string of losses. That can definitely creep into your mind where you question, can I do this? So those are really uh, real feelings that you're experiencing. Paul, upset that I lost hard-earned money, but part of the learning process. Learn from it though. Yes. So with trading, we are assuming risk by putting our money out there on trades, and we work hard for our money, and to see it go away very quickly because in trading it can, and that's why that starting with a small risk is important. It can feel like you're losing something that you'll never get back. But we know the markets are abundant and there's plenty out there, but it's part of the learning process. Absolutely. Tuition to be a part of this. Tammy and George, anger, feelings of failure and disappointment. I walk away and reset my mental attitude. So having that structure in place there, Tammy and George, that you have to disconnect, walk away, reset, and just recenter yourself. Because if you stay in that territory, it can drag you down. And then what can often happen when we lose is because we're not moving forward, we're not looking ahead to the future and the numerous, endless opportunities that are out there just waiting. So that's key, Tammy and George. If we dwell too much in the past on those past losers, we're preventing the opportunities that are here that if we would just stay calm and say, all right, this is part of it, we're missing out. So those are all great examples. So here's what I want you to do now is we're going to talk about the why behind this. So same approach to this. We're going to take 2 minutes, and then I want you to think about the why behind your definition of losing. So we talked about what does a losing trade mean to you? Define it. Think about the root of that. Why do you feel that way? Why do you believe that? And then think about the emotions that you experience when you lose on a trade. Think about the why behind that. And then finally, think about your most recent emotional experience, mindset following a losing trade, and think about the why. And we're going to do the same thing, 2 minutes. I'll put some music on here. And when you're ready, go ahead and share in the chat. And then we're going to talk about those as well. Let me put the music on. This is called binaural beats. It's really good for studying or, when I'm doing chart study or reading or when I'm writing, I'll put this on because it's a good stimulator for the brain. So I'm going to put this on 2 minutes. All right. Let me see if I could put it near the mic here. And if not, then it's just going to be me enjoying it. You guys hear that? You guys hear the music? No? All right. Well, I'm listening to it. Just I'm going to send you the musical vibes. All right, 2 minutes, go ahead. The why. About 40 seconds. Right, 10 seconds. Start wrapping up your response. Right, we can go ahead and stop. And again, just a model for you guys because I'm participating with you and just to be transparent with you as well. So my why behind my thinking of a losing trade, because it is what it is. Losing money is a loss, but I have to remind myself it's not permanent. My emotions, I talked about being discouraged, feeling of a missed opportunity. And I put down here, again, if you're a trader, you're always going to have these emotions, but you have better ways to manage them. But um, being wrong, right? Wrong in your setup, which then leads you to question, man, am I losing my edge? And that fear of, is this going to be taking away from me this gift that I have to trade the market? So that fear, losing skill, losing confidence, and losing confidence is something that can really be detrimental to your trading. And then finally, my most recent loss, just falling back in that mindset of scarcity, that money's not abundant, and that I'm never going to get an opportunity. But again, we have to remind ourselves these things are not permanent. All right. So let's go through and read what you guys posted. And again, I really appreciate you being willing to share. So Bill and Heather write, past experiences shape how we respond in the present. We don't want to repeat the past, right? So that pain that we associate with the experience of losing, we know how that makes us feel, how that makes us question ourselves. Um, we don't want to repeat that. So that's great. I appreciate you guys sharing that. Paulo, to me, it means I didn't pay enough attention. I didn't learn the rules to stick to the basics and to review the lessons taught. I didn't study enough, so I failed. I wasn't ready and I was not committed as I should have. So, Paula, what I really like about your answer is really the accountability, that self accountability, and putting it on yourself to say, "Hey, this is a result of what I did," right? But the thing to keep in mind there, though, too, and this gets in that to that psychology component, is that the market, we can have a great setup and it could look like setups we've taken before. I referenced that Netflix trade, but we all know that the market is going to do what it's going to do. And the thing about trading is it's not 100%, right? You can have a perfect setup that you've seen several times before, but market conditions are always changing. So there is that element of, hey, sometimes it just doesn't work out. But if you followed your plan, you can't be mad at yourself for losing that trade. But Paul, appreciate you saying that. Wade says Paulo said it amazingly. I agree. Taming George, I doubt myself and worry that I can't do this, right? That self-doubt creeps in, which we have to be on guard against. David, doubt in my plan and analysis, blaming everything except myself, the market, the rules. Yeah, and there are times too where we can get so frustrated. We feel like, I think of some of the losing streaks that I've had. I actually had a streak this month where the week finished the week red. I'm like, what? Like, what's good? Like, this market is so volatile, and I have to remind myself that this is not the market. This is just you don't have an edge right now, and taking that responsibility because the market is heartless. It doesn't care about us. Um, so, David, appreciate you saying that. Rajan, same here. Doubt myself, not ready to trade real money, not ready for the financial consequence. Yeah, that doubt, key thing that keeps coming up. Paul says, "Thanks, Wade. I like Bill and Heather's answers. I've become overconscious." And then says, "Low self confidence." Right. So it's important to identify these things and to understand the root of where they come from. And really, they all come from a source of fear that we're not good enough to do this. But if we think about it, just from a sheer probability perspective, from a sheer mathematical perspective, we know, and if we can accept that, hey, losses are a part of this process, it's going to take a little bit of the sting out of it. It's not going to take it out completely, but also we know that if we're in this enough, if we minimize our losers, maximize our winners, then it's not going to impact us as much, or if we're trading with small enough size. One of the biggest things is if you feel really, really uncomfortable with losses, or you're finding yourself really, really stressed out about it, you're trading too large of size. And that's a key sign that you need to dial that back, because you should be in a trade feeling that, hey, if I lose, it's not the end of the world, because you're not trading amounts that are going to debilitate you. So that is important as well. And in trading, confidence is everything. And so we're going to talk about some things that we can do to overcome this, because again, the psychological component of trading is a real thing. And while the technical strategies management is important, it's this thing here, like I said in the first session, that is the most important. Okay. So now I want you to reflect on your the exercise we just did. I'm not going to put music on, but just write out one or two beliefs that you have at this moment about losing a trade. And it might just be one belief. What is that primary belief that you have about losing that is negative? So I'm not looking for your positive, uh, empowering belief yet. We're going to do an exercise with that. But what is your negative belief about losing? Go ahead and write that down. All right. So here we go. Failure. So David says failure, all caps. I'm a failure. Justin, I'm a failure. I'm a loser. Yeah. And think about how harsh that is to judge yourself that way, because you lose a trade, right? You're in the arena trying, and there are people out there that won't even think for a second to try and increase their wealth through the markets. You guys are doing it. But when you lose and you have a misstep, you're calling yourself a failure. Think about that. And think about this. If you're gonna you're punishing yourself and calling yourself that, but you wouldn't call another person that. Why would you call yourself that? Um, will not be able to reach my goal to be financially free. It's powerful. Losing defines me and lessens my value to my family. Good one, Bill and Heather. Yeah, if I suck at this and it doesn't work, what then? What other path of financial freedom can I take? Start over again? Yeah, so these are all great things. And mine comes back to losing means I'm losing my edge. I won't get it back and I'll never profit again. I still have that, right? But I've worked very hard to lean into the losses and sit with the feeling and not try to escape it, not try to run away from it, but to feel it and to understand that if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to be in this world, this is going to be a part of the process. And if I can't handle it, then I have no business being here. Right. And that's where we want to get to that. Hey, this is trading. And it also brings up a really honest question that you have to ask yourself. If you become stressed out to the point to where it's impacting your life and it's dragging you down in all other areas, you have to ask yourself the honest question, can I reframe this in an empowering way and turn it into something that you can use to improve? Or can you not do that? And if you can't, then maybe this isn't for you. That's just the honest to goodness truth, because we know it is part of the process. Okay. So now let's flip the script, because that's what this is all about. We have to change the way we look at losing. So just take that belief, those beliefs that you have, and turn it into something empowering, something powerful, so that when you have a losing trade, because here's the thing, you guys are going to. I'm going to, right? Tomorrow I may have a loser. Tomorrow you might have a loser. Paulo, not Paulo today. Paulo hit two trades, right? Good for you, Paulo. But reframe your belief in a positive way that's empowering to you, because we're going to anchor this. And so the next time you're in that position, you're going to come back to your plan. You're going to have this belief written down, and you're going to remind yourself of this. Okay. So go ahead, take a minute and reframe your negative belief about losing and turn it into something empowering. All right. So here's mine, guys. So this is one of the things that I tell myself is that a trading loss is a lesson. It's a sign that I'm growing, that I'm giving my best. All right. I'm not setting out to lose. I'm trying my best. And think about this. We got to think about it from a mathematical probability perspective. It's a signal that my next big winner is closer than ever, right? Because you get those losses out of the way. It's just like a bad day. We all have a bad day every once in a while, but when you have a streak of bad luck, it doesn't last forever. Just like market corrections don't last forever. Bear markets don't last forever, right? That winning trade is just around the corner. All right. So David says losing equals learning for next time. Yes, it's a learning opportunity. Wade, same thing. Losing is learning. You cannot move forward without it. Losing gives you lessons to take into your next trade. The best traders I know lose. Of course, I will as well. And like I told you guys, I think I said it in both sessions. If you're talking to someone who trades and says that they don't lose, they are full of pumpkin pie. You know what word I was going to use there. We believe that the big guy in the sky is on our side. There you go. Your spirituality, your higher power. It's part of the learning process, right? We bring it back to learning. We learn from everything that we do. If we're not learning from that, then that's problematic. Losses are teaching me patience, control, and acceptance. With each loss, I have the opportunity to grow. That's beautiful, right? What is more empowering? I am a failure. You lose a trade. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. Or I'm learning patience. I'm learning control and acceptance. With this loss today, I have an opportunity to grow. Which one are you going to choose? Right? It's here, but it takes discipline to do that. The best losers win. Yes, you have to become a good loser. You have to become good at it. That is a skill, right? And especially in this world, because you're going to lose. You could have red weeks, red months, red year. If you have a red year, that's a problem. Learning opportunity for sure. Go back and review what you did wrong. Did you check all your signals? Even if you did, understand the market does what it wants. Right? You have to surrender. You did your best, and even when you do your best, you could have had the best trade setup. That doesn't mean, and that's the other part too. You know, I work with lots of students in trading, and when they have a loss, the the response too is to take it personal. There's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just sometimes the market. A lot of really all the time, the market is going to do what it wants to do, right? Learning patience, 100%. Yep. These are all fantastic responses. So what I want you guys to do is to add that empowering belief to your beliefs on your graphic organizer so that you have that on there as an anchor for the next time you experience a losing trade. You're going to come to that, you're going to read it, you're going to process it, and you're going to move on. We can't call ourselves failures. We can't beat ourselves up. We can't say that we suck at this because if we do that, then we're really going to damage our confidence and you're going to be in a space where you can't move forward because you're going to dwell on that. You have to focus on that positive reframe of the experience. Okay. So you don't have to do it now, but please add that to your graphic organizer. And what I'm going to ask that everybody does, and probably what I'll do in our last session is we'll go through a checklist to make sure everything is in that graphic organizer. Because I really do want you guys to have this document done and complete. So that gives you time to do it. Because if you're here with me these 5 sessions, I want you to have this done. Otherwise, it's a waste of your time, and I'm not looking for you guys to waste your time. I want you to leave here with all these things ready and available to support you. David says, in my experience, that's when I go on tilt and revenge trade. Yeah, yeah. And again, it's completely normal, David. That you're not alone. And I would be a liar if I said I haven't done that before, right? The key is to be able to catch it and to eliminate the behavior. And it's not going to happen all at once. But if you're going to survive and thrive in this world, you have to master that component. You have to master your mind. The best traders in the world are able to do that. And so Stanley Druckenmiller, so back during the AI bubble, this guy's a billionaire, one of the best traders in the world of all time. He kept watching the market run and run and run, and he didn't want to chase it. He didn't want to chase it, and it just kept running and running and running. Kind of similar to what we're experiencing now with AI, although what's happening with AI is like 10 times bigger than the internet. And he got to a point where he was like, I just can't watch this thing keep running up. And so he got in near the top with it was a multi-billion dollar position, and it dropped, and he lost over $1 billion in a day. Right now, this guy could have given up and beat himself up, but he didn't. He persisted. He kept going. And he said, I knew better. I knew better than to chase, but I did it anyway because the emotion overtook him. And so the reason I share that example with you guys is because don't think that even the pros, billionaires, don't make those mistakes because they do. Even when they're seasoned, they're grizzled veterans, they're billionaires, they still make those mistakes. Now, he has since corrected that, obviously, and addressed it, but you're not a failure. A billionaire has chased, has FOMO'd, and he did it at the height of the market in 2000 and lost $1 billion. So you are not alone. You're not a failure. If you're a failure because of that, you're going to classify yourself that, then so is Stanley Druckenmiller, right? That would have made me play in traffic. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure he really needed, the mental fortitude to be able to push through that because he's an institutional trader. He's managing other people's money. I'm sure you could just imagine, what he went through, but he made it all back and well beyond that. So again, you're never down and out. And the other thing to consider too, position size perspective is even though he lost $1 billion from a perspective of, um, from a perspective of thinking of his account. I'm sure he wasn't putting his entire account value up in that trade, right? Paul says, Bill and Heather, I will resend out the graphic organizer. Yes, I'll put that in there tomorrow. And then Paul says, Billion, put a fork in me, I'd be done. Well, we're going to make sure you don't lose $1 billion. So, yeah, we don't want you to do that. All right. So let's talk about perspectives and truths uh, about losing and trading. And these are some of the things we've already talked about here, but let's go through these just to provide ourselves a foundation and to ground our thinking. Okay. So think of this. Every time you lose a trade, someone else wins, right? There's always a buyer, there's always a seller, right? So there's always a winner or a loser. So your loss, there's a winner on that other side. And it might be another retail trader like you at home doing the same thing. So that's another way to reframe that. And then the flip side is true too. Every time that you win, someone else loses. It's the give and take of the markets, right? So it's a different way of thinking about that. All right. Paula says, I did that recently with RR and plug. I didn't keep my head in a swivel and didn't practice patience, didn't lose billions, but still sucked. You didn't suck. You are harsh on yourself, brother. One day, one trade, one candle can completely wipe out an entire year's worth of losses. Okay. So let me show you a chart here real fast. All right, because this is so true too. All right, I'm going to bring up, find it. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right. You're going to love this chart. Hang on. There we go. Let me share this here. All right. Here's Oracle. Okay. Here's Oracle on September 9th. Right. It closed at 241.58. Say you own 100 shares. This thing went up the next day $104.61. One candle, one candle, one move, right? And this happens all the time, right? This isn't just exclusive to Oracle. This is one of the most recent ones that I could think about. But Oracle went up $104.61 in one day, right? That's over $10,000. That's $10,000 on one move. And those shares, if you had 100 shares there, let me give you the exact math. 100 shares times 2, 241.58, 241.58, $24,000, right? $10,000. 1,000 shares times $100. Or excuse me, 1,000 shares. Yeah, 1,000 shares times $100, right? Think about that. It's 100 grand. So I'm sharing this with you because you can't ever think that it's gone. You're never going to have the opportunity because you never know when you're in the next move like this on Oracle or like AMD. Let's go look at AMD. AMD had this huge gap up here back on October 3rd from its close to the next day, $62. You never know when you're going to get that move. So to think if you stay in that mindset of I suck, I'm a failure, you're missing out on this. This could be your next trade. It happens all the time in the market. So you can't stay in that space and dwell on your loss because you miss this. And there's 252 trading days a year. These occur all the time. If you're in the right spot at the right time, this could be you. And those losses gone in one candle, right? You need to have those examples to see and to understand that everything can change with just one candle. All right, let me pull up the chat here. Um, let's see here. I need that candle. Wow. Yeah, big W. Yep. And just think, guys, there were probably thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably even millions of people who were part of that move. They were. And here's another statistic that I read today. Tell me this. What percentage of Americans own at least one share of stock? What do you think it is? What percentage of Americans own at least one share of stock? Less than 10%, 5%. Those are really low. It's 39% of Americans own at least one stock. What you think about that? That means that 61% of Americans don't own any stocks. That's over half of the population, right? Yeah, or even a mutual fund. Yes. Yeah. Right. So when you're in the game, and this is true too, people who are exposed to the stock market, involved in the stock market, are wealthier and have more prosperity than people who are not. Right. That's why we want to be in this space. All right. All right. So continuing through here, consistently profitable traders lose trades. A 50% win rate is a quality win rate if you are losing small. That's the other thing. You don't have to win 60% of the time, 70% of the time, 80% of the time. If you're minimizing your losers and you're maximizing your winners, you're going to be profitable. You don't need to be a 60, 70, 80% winner. You just don't have to be. It's math. It's math. A losing trade, a losing day, a losing week, a losing month does not make you a losing trader. It just doesn't. I showed you that candle. Those candles happen all the time. Even a $20 move on a stock, that is so common. That is so common. Meta was up $20 today. Broadcom was up $20 today. Tesla was up $20 today. I think Coinbase was close to being up $20 today. Bitcoin, for crying out loud, was up 2,000 $2,000 at one point today, right? These moves happen all the time. David says, I saw someone on YouTube with a 35% win rate and was still profitable. Yeah, so that guy must cut their losers immediately, right? It's all mathematical. The next one, if you're going to have winning trades, you must be willing to lose. And that's a hard one for people to swallow. They get into trading and they think, oh, I'm just going to win all. No, that's not how it works. You're going to lose. You're going to. And the other part of this too is in trading, people are not patient with themselves. They don't give themselves the grace and let this play out gradually. They feel like they have to have it now. And one of my key phrases that my students probably hate hearing from me is that if you can't have it today, do you never want it? And let's say that you could have it a year from now. Is it because you can't have it today, you don't want it a year from now? I mean, is it worth waiting a year to have it? Yeah, but you might have to sacrifice a bit. You might have to struggle. But we all know nothing good in life comes easy. You're going to have to put in the time, put in the work, and it might not come right away. But once you get it and you understand it, then it will work out. If losing is becoming too difficult for you and it's impacting you emotionally, your risk is too large. So I talked about that earlier. If you are freaking out on every trade, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose. Your risk is too big. You got to take the size off the table. You should be able to take a trade and be like, all right, if I lose, I lose. Right. So that's a key takeaway for some of you out there. If you're feeling that way, then you need to decrease your risk. Right. There's a time and place to increase your risk. And you'll know when you're ready, when you're consistent at a certain number, then you move up. Your losses are your best teachers, not just about your trading, but about yourself. And this is true too. I talked about this last week, is that trading will teach you things about yourself and it will reinforce things about yourself that you know are true that you don't want to admit. But in trading, you have to confront them because if you don't and you don't address them, you're going to lose money. So if there is one thing out there that is great for self-development, personal development, it's trading. Because those things you know about yourself that you need to work on, and we all have them, you can't run from them here. It's going to force you to deal with them. So all the challenges that you have in life are amplified 10x in trading. And it's a mirror. Trading really is a mirror for where you need to grow. That is a truth, trading truth 100%. No matter how many years you trade or how much experience you have, you will lose trades. Stanley Druckenmiller, I just gave you that example. It's never going to go away. It's always going to be a part of this. And then I put this on here because the statistic, I used to say $4 quadrillion, but it's not really 4 quadrillion. It's between 2 and 3 quadrillion dollars are traded every year in the market. And I don't even know how many zeros that is. I know it's more than a billion. It's way more zeros than a billion. But think about that. Every year, that's how much money is exchanged on the stock market. We as retail traders, we just want a little piece of that. $1,000 is nothing to the market. $10,000 is nothing to the market. $100,000 is nothing. A million is nothing to the market. It's nothing. It's nothing, right? It's abundant. It's there. It is there. 15 zeros. 15 zeros. Can you imagine? And here's what's crazy. The bond market, I think, is 4 times the size of the stock market. How crazy is that? Right? It's insane. There's so much out there, but we think that it's so scarce. No, it's there. It's there. And then finally, if you can't manage your emotions and mindset when you lose a trade or have a losing streak, trading is not for you. And that's a harsh reality that maybe not all of you um, will have to face, but maybe somebody in here tonight will say, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. I can't handle it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if this is something that you want to do and you're finding yourself when you lose, you you beat yourself up, you know what you must work on in order to succeed in this area. All right. Now, let's talk about some strategies for how we can mitigate losing trades, how we can mitigate risk, and really just make sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position to be successful. And a lot of these things we've already talked about, and we've already built tools and structures for ourselves to do that. Be disciplined. You follow and stick to your trading plan. If you're not trading with a plan, then you like losing money. No, you don't like it, you love it. All right. You now have a trading plan. Refine it, revise it at the end of every month. This is the last week of November. You put that trading plan together, you should be tweaking it and getting ready for December, right? Follow and stick to your plan. Be disciplined. Never trade a risk that you are not comfortable trading. If you're freaking out, it's too much size. Decrease the risk. The next one, and this was some feedback that I gave at the beginning, have a rules-based plan for losing small. So I'll give you a concrete example. So when you have a trade that's working in your favor, but then starts to go against you, what do you do in those moments? And a simple thing that you could do is instead of just belling out and saying, oh, I got to get out because this is dropping, and you just cut it. That's called panic selling. You don't want to do that. Stick to your thesis, but wait for some strength to come into the move before you move your stop. So what do I mean by that? So let's say that it's dropping. You're like, oh man, I'm going to lose. You don't want to exit there. You want to wait for the next bounce that comes in, the next 2 or 3 green candles, 2 candles, 3 candles, whatever is in your trading plan, and then you move your stop. Because what you're doing at that point is you're training your brain to say, all right, I don't sell out of fear. I don't sell out of panic. I adjust my stop when the trade's working in my favor so that I'm actually acting during the strength in the trade. And that trains yourself to say, I don't react to fear. I'm not getting out of this trade because it's going against me. No, I'm going to wait for strength and then I'm going to be disciplined and move the stop then. That is a rule that you guys should have in your trading plans. Lock in gains when trades work in your favor. I say this all the time, especially if you're on a losing streak or your confidence is taking a hit. There are times to let your trades run and to maximize your profits. However, if you're ever in a slump and you're losing and your trade becomes profitable, lock in the gain. And I call it stacking wood because small winners over the course of the month, not only are you going to be profitable, but what it's going to do for your mindset and confidence. And when you look back and you're like, look at all these wins that I had. They might be small winners, but they compound over time. That's going to get your mind in the right place so that you get your confidence back. Lock in gains. Lock in gains. Okay. There's time to let your winners run, but when you're in a down streak, when you're struggling, you have to lock in gains. Build that confidence. Small W's. What's the difference between a profitable trader and someone who's not profitable? And this is probably happened to everybody here. It's happened to me too. I was up on a trade decently, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna let this thing run. And then I didn't, and then I get stopped out for a full R loss. My Netflix trade, I did a video about it when I was up 115K and I lost it all. I mean, I'm better about it now, but I look back, I'm like, you're such a moron. You were such an idiot. And again, I talk to myself more kindly now about it, but learning those hard lessons definitely taught me a lot. Lock in the game. Lock in the game. Practice, practice, practice. So here's the other thing. You think about a professional athlete in a sport. They're putting in the reps. They're getting their practice in. They're doing it over and over and over. They visualize it. You have to do the same thing with trading. You have to do the same thing with trading. You have to practice. You have to back trade. You have to paper trade. You have to think through it. And something that I'm going to give you to try to do before you trade for a day, let's say tomorrow, take a chart where a stock just ran and you know it ran super hard. Set up in TradingView the back trading feature and trade it as if you didn't know what was going to happen, but you do know what's going to happen. And just watch it go through and it allow yourself to experience those emotions of winning. If you do that before you start trading every day, you're putting yourself in a centered, focused mindset where your brain has went through the process of winning, and that will help center you. Try that this week. Try it tomorrow and see how that helps you. But even just going through that is practice, watching the candle patterns play out. Study and back trade your losing trades over and over. If you're not studying your losers, you're missing out on great opportunities for improvement. You have to take a look at your losses. You have to see where you went wrong, what you could do better, or was it a great setup and the market just didn't comply, right? You can learn a lot from your trades. This goes without saying, but always use a stop loss. If you don't have a stop loss, you're setting your account up to just get smoked and you're going to lose all your money. That's undisciplined trading. That's a recipe for ruin, financial ruin. You have to have a stop. Have to have a stop, which leads to the next one. Never turn a day trade into a swing trade. It's a day trade for a reason. You have to close it. What happens if you do this? You get into a day trade and you're like, oh, I'm going to hold it. And then the next thing happens, some news comes out. The AI bubble does burst. You're in some chip stock and it just keeps going down and down. And what was once a $300 loss is now a $1,000 loss. A month later is a $3,000 loss. 6 months later is a $10,000 loss. That's why you don't turn a day trade into a swing trade. And I may know somebody very closely who's done that before. Me, it's not a good feeling. You can't do it. And then I've said this before too, trade what works for you, not for someone else. You learn from others, get ideas from other people, but you have to trade based on your own unique trading voice. And everybody has it. It's those things that resonate for you. And you have to really work on developing that. Get ideas from others, learn strategies from others, get their take on what's happening from the markets from others. But at the end of the day, it's you who's setting up the trade and pressing the buttons, and you have to trust yourself. Two more here. Don't chase, avoid tickers that are too extended. This is the FOMO piece, like that Oracle, when it gapped up like that. There were tons of people who got in at the top. And I don't know if you've seen Oracle lately, but it's come down and it's filled that gap. So you don't want to chase because chances are, again, probability thinking at those high levels, it's going to come down. Like Google right now is ripping and it can keep ripping, but gravity will take effect, right? Just like Meta was beat up. It's still beat up, but it's starting to come back. It'll come back. The same thing with things that are too high. And then finally, be grateful and don't chase beyond your plan. If your rule says get out here, get out. If your rule says get out and take a partial 50%, take your partial 50%. Because if you don't, and you don't follow your plan like me on Netflix, it was way up here and I could have cashed out before market closed, there's a chance that this is going to happen. And then you're going to be super mad at yourself and you're going to record a future YouTube video where you talk about how big of an idiot you are. And I don't want that to happen for you guys. Paula says, guilty of that. Yep. Those positive thoughts went right out the window. They sure did. All right. So, the best way to learn from our losses, back trade it, even though you know what's going to happen. You got to study those losers, see what you can do better next time. And like I said, sometimes there's nothing you could do better. It's just the market had um, other things in mind that day. Utilize an aggressive stop loss mitigation plan and see what the outcome would have been. So, go through those trades that you took and back trade it and try to approach it in a different way to see, all right, how could I have minimized the loser here and see, all right, if I would have moved my stop when I got some strength here, oh, I would have lost, 30% less. That's going to have an impact on your P&L. You need to be doing those types of things so that you can improve. And then you want to repeat that process to gain insights and to learn how to best manage your losing trades. Okay. So that's a key thing is reviewing your losses and making that part of what you do. Again, if you're going to trade, you have to treat this like a business. This is not something that you're just like, yeah, all right, I'm going to trade here. No, you gotta take this seriously. It's fun and you got to enjoy it. And I assume that everybody here enjoys this. You love it. If you love it, then you have to treat it with that type of respect, right? You have to have that humility and you showcase that by studying your losers. All right. So, you now know how you are now going to define losing, right? So, you probably have a completely different definition, or at least I hope so. That was the intent here for you to have a completely different definition of what losing a trade means to you. And hopefully, we went from saying that I'm a failure to now we say, I've learned something. And now I'm going to take what I've learned and I'm going to grow and I'm going to get better. And those emotions that we used to experience from losing, now we're going to transform those into something that empower us and don't let us focus on what happened negatively in the past, but allow us to stay in the moment so that we can catch that next Oracle pop or that next A&D pop. And then the other thing we could do is we can visualize, all right, when we have that next losing trade, you can do this tonight when you go to sleep. When you close your eyes, all right, I have a losing trade. How am I going to respond? Let me walk through this in my brain. Do that. And here's the other thing too, and we're going to get into this next week with the psychology of winning trades. And this might sound crazy to you, but it's not. Visualize yourself taking a trade and it winning and it playing out. Do it over and over. Condition your brain. Repetition, practice. Repetition is the mother of skill. It's these types of behaviors that get you to where you want to go. All right. So we've continued here to make progress on our outcomes. We're a few minutes over here tonight, but not too long. We talked about our beliefs related to losing. We're going to get into winning. Next week, I gave you some strategies that you can use, some mindsets that can empower you, and hopefully gave you a different framework to look at losing. And real fast here, key takeaways tonight, if you have one, that what resonated with you most, if you could just throw that in the chat. Losses do not define me. Amen. Turning losing trades into positive learning experiences. Yes. Perseverance, push through. This is part of it, right? We're going to get knocked down. It's getting back up. It's picking ourselves off the mat so we can catch that next oracle. 50% win rate is a quality rate if you're minimizing your losers, which you now have strategies to do that. Right? It's a teaching moment. A loss teaches you something. It shows you what to improve on next time. And a loss doesn't mean that you are a terrible human being, a terrible trader. No, it doesn't. You're in the arena. You're doing it. There's other people who don't have the courage to do what you're doing. All great things here. I appreciate you guys sharing that. All right. So next week, we are going to be getting into the psychology of a winning trade and lots of good stuff coming here with this. Very excited to be covering that content with you guys. And then our final session the week after on the 11th, we're going to be talking about your trading routine. We're going to get into environment. The sequence of how you do things is very structured, very detailed, and that will wrap it all up. We'll put everything together, and you will then have a system. Just want to plug here too for I know many of you are in the current blueprint. We'll be moving on to the advanced blueprint for next year. But any of you guys who want to do a year-long 45 session trading mentorship, learn how to trade, cover everything. This is going to be kicking off in January, so I'll have more information for that coming up. And that is going to do it for class number 3. If you found value in tonight's class, give me double zeros. All right. All right. I got a bunch of double. Oh, I got 1 0. Paul gave me 0. Hey guys, again, I appreciate all of you out there. It's a pleasure to be able to talk with all you guys, to work with you. This is so much fun for me. This is a blast. So just thank you for being here and engaging. That's what it's all about. I hope you have the absolutely best, most wonderful, amazing, spectacular, fantastic, magnificent Thanksgiving in the world. Enjoy the time with your family, relax, enjoy yourselves, and I'm going to see you back here next week. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you in the community tomorrow. I'll drop some pre-market stuff there in the morning, and have a great night, everyone.